All right, so we're here for DacDB advanced session. Our host for this one is Mark from DacDB, and we're going to go through some other advanced functions, and I'm going to let Mark lead this session.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you, yep.
Right. So I'm going to try to cover a few things here. Jimmy just did a little bit of the RI Direct Connect. I'll explain a little bit more. Want to get into some club assignments, club committees, stories, bulletins, club websites. Want to show you something new, File Manager. We talked a lot about managing your club files and documents this morning, and talk about some Pmail and Ptext changes and some calendar changes that are coming up. And okay, so let's get rid of this. And I want to bring on, I got a couple screens here that I want to bring on. So I'm going to use for my buddies, just for the district folks, what Jimmy did today, there's a cogwheel up here and you can turn the scramble on and off. So if you need to show this for people, you can scramble the data. One of the things, Jimmy covered the member compare. And the one thing I wanted to point out with the member compare is when you add a member to DacDB or update a member or delete a member, or terminate a member, that should automatically, if you've got the member compare enabled, go to RI. And within 5 minutes, the data should be updated within Rotary International. So it's a background process because Rotary is a little bit slow, but you can do the updates, do the adds, do the deletes. It all goes to Rotary. Should be reflected here within a few minutes. There's 2 other compares on the system. There's an officer compare. So when you click on the officer compare, RI is only cares about these 6 positions that are here: club president, club secretary, treasurer, and so forth. So for example, if you put a president-elect in today, they're really the club president next year. So we will send that information to RI and say, so-and-so is going to be the club president in 2021. And so you can come into the club officer compare and see how this all lines up. And just like the member compare, if there's any discrepancies or data that's missing, there'll be some arrows here that allows you to immediately update RI and go in either direction. And this is also a good screen to say, I'm missing some officer data out here in the future. And, it may be a little too far out to know that. But for example, coming up in 3 or 4 months, there's a club foundation chair and a club executive secretary that's not defined for Gainesville, for example, right now. The other compare that's out there is the club information. And so you can go out and run this. Takes a little bit for this one to load up. And it also has, here's what's in Rotary, here's what's in DacDB. For some reason, we think this is different. There's probably a year or something here. Not sure why that's showing different. And you've got, everything that's sort of lined up. And there's like a club email that's missing here in RI that you can either blank out in DacDB or push up to RI. So that information is there. And then there's a RI transaction log where you can go in and you can look at, like, here's all the completed transactions that have gone up to RI and what their status is and so forth. And you can view some of these and look at the response you got from RI. So if there's any question about whether some stuff went up to RI or not, you can look at the RI log there and do it. Take a look at that. So any questions on the RI compare? Okay.
Does everyone know what the RI compare is? John?
I don't know what the compare is. And my screen, and maybe because of my level, doesn't show how you got to RI Navigator.
So to get to, so for example, to get to the RI compare, you're going to go to My Club.
Okay.
I'm going to click on Club Members. Okay, up comes a list of your club members. I'm not going to scroll down any further
Okay.
due to the privacy. There's an RI integration over here. And here's where you've got all of the capabilities that are there. So there's a member compare, a club officer compare, club information, the transaction log, and at a district level, the district can do a district-wide compare of all the members. That's something like Patty and the DG and DGEs can use to see how things are all lined up. So if I simply click on member compare, I'm now going out and doing a real-time query to RI and doing a query into DacDB. And here's an example, for example, that the data is scrambled here, but there's a member in DacDB that got added that they put a start date in that's 228 days away. So I can't add this person to RI. So you have it, you have an option over here. It basically says, terminate this person in DacDB, or you should, sometimes when the date is within 30 days, you can add them to RI. So
Hey,
looking
Mark?
at this, yeah.
Doesn't look like level 1 has the ability to do an RI.
No, level 1 doesn't have the ability because level 1 has gets you access to like all the member data and stuff like that.
Right. I think that gentleman was asking. The gentleman that was asking is level 1.
Right. So no, this is really like a level 3, level 4 club officer kind of function. Okay. And the same thing, when you can look at like I said, the club officers and the members and so forth. So that's all there. So theoretically, on a good day, it all happens magically behind the scenes when you add somebody into DacDB or update them or terminate them. We do the work in RI. Okay, the next advanced thing that I wanted to show you. I do want to do one thing with Jimmy. Where's well, I'll come back to it. Let's start with club assignments. So one of the features that clubs have is the ability to define the roles that you can have people perform at various meetings. So when you come into this, you probably don't have it set up. The first thing you want to do is go over to setup. You want to configure it with a message that you might want to send out to the people that have an assignment. You want to select what member types you want to assign roles to. So typically your active members and so forth. And maybe there's a staff position in your club that you want to give a role to, or you want to give roles to honoraries, so you can check them on. And the next thing you want to do is basically define what your roles are. So for example, a new role these days might be a Zoom coordinator, who's going to manage the online meeting. But you still might do raffles, and you still might do a greeter and guest introductions and stuff like that. So you basically save that, then you can come back here to assignments. So here's where the magic starts. I'm going to add a meeting. So I know what we're going to create a club meeting. I know what the next meeting date is. I'm going to go out and say create 4 meetings into the future, because I'm not working that far out into the future. And I'm going to save that. So basically, I've created these 4 meetings, and I have a list of all my club members over here that are in my club, and I'm in the Hollywood club. So I can basically take any member I want here and simply take them and drag them into the position and role that they're going to be. We basically just come along there, drag the people in as needed, and assign them the role that they're going to take. Now, when I'm done with this, I can come along and say, I want to P-mail, oops, I got to P-mail what meetings I want to send out. I can click on P-mail up here, And I can either send it to all the members in the club or only the members with an assignment on the schedule. So, depending upon the purpose of your email, you might go, want to send a email out to all the members in the club to say, hey, we've got a lot of missing positions up here. Please sign up. Let me know if you need some, you can help us in one of these positions. Or you might just say, I'm only going to send the members that have an assignment. Here's what your assignment is for this week in this club meeting. And basically, you can click on Pmail. You get kicked into Pmail here. It formats up the little message. That was what we set up in the setup thing. Here's the little matrix that you created. You click send, and out the door it goes. And I do want to, and here's where I can tie in something that Jimmy did. So I'm going to send this out. So a number of people will get this. Now, if I go back over here to pending, remember Jimmy said it takes a little bit for the message to go out? We're waiting about an average of 2.5 minutes to send the message out. Why? Because so many people have called me up going, oh, I just sent out a message, can you stop it? Well, you can stop it by clicking on the X. Or if you're really sure you want it to go and you don't want to wait the 2.5 minutes, you click on the arrow and the Pmail is queued up to go out. So that's an option or feature in Pmail there that Jimmy just didn't quite cover. So any questions on the club assignments? So if you come back in here, you come back into your assignments, there's your feature. You can add to it or delete from it as needed.
Mark, this is Jolly. I have a question. I've been trying to use this, and when I have those meetings set up and I've dragged people over there, then when I go to add maybe 8 more meetings, one column disappears and my people's names go over into the date column.
Okay, I'll have to look at that, but that shouldn't be the case. But I'll maybe follow up with you and see what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the next thing I wanted to cover was stories. So if you've ever gone to like the home page here, there's a district home page or there's a club home page and so forth. How do you put these stories here and how do you create those? So one of the modules in DacDB is this Club Easy story. So I'm going to create a new story, show you how easy it is to do this. And it's going to be the, I call it CORVID 19 background. Okay. And I'm going to come over here. So I'm just kind of giving it a name, contemporary story. Now, the content, so there's 2 places here for a story. There's usually the summary, and then there's like the read more, like the fuller, if you want to put like a little teaser, a couple paragraphs up here, and then follow up with a much larger article down here, you can put that in the description field. So there's 2 fields here. Or typically what most people do is they just put everything into the summary. Now, I found a Wikipedia site that had all the information, and we're just pretending here, that I wanted to put in about COVID-19. So let's say I want to just basically copy the first couple of paragraphs and put that into my story. That's it. I've now created a COVID-19 story here that's in draft mode that has got the contents that I put in there. But let's embellish it a little bit. And there's a nice little diagram over here, and I have something called Snagit that I can basically come over here and take a copy of this picture. And what Snagit did is there's a little screen over here that basically has got the picture that I just copied. So I'm basically going to say, copy this picture, and I'm going to come down here and say the bottom of my article, and I'm going to paste my picture in. So the picture is now in the article, it's there. So now I can basically save that picture. And if I click on the COVID-19, here's what my story looks like. So in a couple seconds, I basically was able to cut out of Word or a Notepad some article or an email, snag a picture, drop it into my story, and have it there. Now, if I go back to my stories, the stories is in a draft mode, and there's 4 states to a story. It's draft, it's under review, it's been approved, and it's published. So if you set up in your club the ability to do email notifications, when somebody creates a draft story, whoever is in the draft email notification here will get an email. Once the story is moved to review, the reviewer will get an email. Once it's moved to approved, the approver will get an email. So for example, maybe the club secretary or club president wants to be on the approved list, so before it can be published, he or she wants to see it and review it. If you don't set up any email notifications, then the emails go out to, the stories can be just controlled and changed at will without any notifications. So let's get my story published. I simply come back in here to my story and I say, I want to publish this, and I want to show it on my website, my homepage, my dashboard, and I want to use it in my easy bulletin. So this is sort of where I want to show my story. This is the state that the story is in. So I simply save that. And now if I go back to, you'll notice that my story is now up here in the published list of stories. And if I go back to my home page, there's my story. And it's right there. So that's about as simple as it gets with stories. So kind of any questions on that one? Okay.
I do, Mark. What about quoting the source?
You could, all of that applies. I mean, you could go in here, like if I wanted to go back into my stories and find my story down here, COVID-19, and go back into the content and say, this was, I'm not sure how to exactly quote it, but, this is per Wikipedia. You can put your quote in there.
Oh yeah, I always do that as a habit. I always put credit resource in a link just so I can protect myself for copywriting.
Sure. All the literacy kinds of things that you should be doing apply here. I'm just taking some shortcuts really quick.
But thank you. That's great. That's a great feature. Thank you so much.
Mark, a
Go
question
ahead.
on how to sequence these, and also if they can be categorized.
So yeah, you can set up some categories like, and this is good for like on a website where you can pull some stories into different categories. So if you want to create a story category like for new members or news or the RI convention or a sidebar kind of thing, there's a category feature over here. And you can simply come in and say, I want to do, touch points. I'm not sure what that is, but you could create a category called touch points, and that's there. So now when I go into my stories, and let's go back to my Corvid stories. One of the categories here should be down here. This story applies to, news, or it's a touch point story. So you can check off multiple categories and the story appears there. And just save that, of course, and it's there. So this is more applicable, the categories for websites, where if you wanted to set up like a new member web page and pull in only the new member stories, you could do that. Or if you wanted to set up a touch point, whatever that happens to be, page on your website, only the touch point stories that are in that category can be pulled out. So that's a nice feature that you can use. Okay, so once I've created a bunch of stories, probably one of the things that I want to do is create a bulletin. So we have a bulletin. Now we're in Hollywood. There's a lot of prototype bulletins here. If you've never used Easy Bulletin, the first thing you're going to be faced with is, I want to build a template. I need a template. So there's a number of templates that are here. So H stands for header, sidebar, the body, and the footer. This is probably your typical template for a story. And I can select that template, if you will. And now now that I've got a template, so it looks like that, I need to configure my story with some stuff. So I'm going to click on headers, because I want to drop something in here. And there's a couple different headers to choose from. The one you probably want to use is something like that, where it's pre-configured with the Rotary logo and the club name. But once I've got that, I can say, okay, I'm good there. And now I want to come over and probably work on my sidebar. So what do I want to have shown in the sidebar over here? Well, I might want to have a list of my stories. I'm going to drop that in there. So as I create my stories in here, my list of stories are going to be there. Maybe some information about my club leaders or club meetings. I might want to put my club leaders in here. I might want to have my events. I put those in there. And maybe I'm good with that. Or maybe I'll throw an RI theme in at the bottom. And then I want to come down and go to my body tags. And my body tags, I probably simply want to put my stories. So you can define what the different things that you want in there. And maybe I want to complete this with a footer tag. So maybe my footer tag might be maybe a list of birthdays.
That is not always the case.
Something like that.
I meant to go down.
And now what I can do is save this, give it a name, and I've got somewhere my template is there that I just created. I think it's this one I just did. So I'm going to go to advanced build, and now that I've found that template, and I apologize if there's so many templates, now I've got a list of all the stories that I want to put into that. So what I just did is created the template. Now I want to populate it. So I can put my stories in here that I want. My club meetings, I think I'm pretty good with that, and I can basically say build it. And what I just did was built my newsletter. And I can preview it, which I'm doing. There it is. There's how it's going to look. And if I want to send myself a test email with it, I can click on test email, and I can save this. So now I've got a bulletin with today's date that's here. I believe that's the one I just did here. So there's the bulletin that I just did. And if I want to go back in and edit that, I can go back to the bulletin. I can publish it. And if I publish it, I can send it out to publish it to my club. So automatically, now that I've published my bulletin, it's now in my club files. So if I go to my club files, the bulletin that I just published should be there somewhere in a secure. I think it's actually in a different folder. But my bulletin is there, and if I want to go back in and like, here's my bulletin that I just did. Okay, it's published. I can edit it. This is a published bulletin, so I can't do it, but I can unpublish it. And now if I go back in and my bulletin has been unpublished, it's back over here. I can edit it, I can make changes to the bulletin and so forth. I know that was like real quick, but it's a very powerful ability And there's a lot of videos in the help screen to go in there and learn how to build bulletins for your club, get them published, put them out to your members, and so forth. Now, once you've done, you've created numerous stories, you've put them into an easy bulletin that you've sent out. One of the other things you can do in your club is you can set up a club website. So under My Club, there's a link here called Club Websites. And if you already have a website, you can go over to Setup and you can edit one of the websites that you've got. Typically, there's only going to be one website that's here. In this case, this is our Tom Cruise demo area, so there's a number of websites that are there. But if you just want to go and decide, you don't have a club website and you want to try one, you can click on one of these and decide, here's a template that you might like as a club website. And by the way, when you click on that, this is all live. This is what this club website, here's that COVID-19 story that we just created. Here's what it looks like on your club website. And here's what my club leaders are. So if you like the websites, you simply can create the sites and build it. Now, if I've already got a website, I think the one I want to use is, let's see what this one looks like. There's a website that already exists. And somehow it's got this little header in the background. So it's kind of goofed up a little bit. So one of the things I could do is say, I want to edit that website and I want to go into EMB admin and I want to log in. So Tom Cruise is the person that created, he's the webmaster for this club. He's going to log into the website administration tool. He's going to pick one of the websites. In this case, he had multiple ones he could work with. And we're now in the admin for the website. So remember, our website looks like this. And we want to basically come in, you've got various things you can do over here with the website. So for example, if I want to choose a file to be the header, I could come in here and choose the file that I want to put up there as a header. Or if I want to put different footers in here, I can create different footers. Or if I want to change the colors of the site, I can go in and change the colors of the site. With the site, you've got like different widgets, like what's over here. You can come into where the widgets are positioned on the website. And I think the problem is here. Let me go back. You're in that one, and that's 543. Let me go into the right one. Okay, so there, for example, is the one with a header. So if I wanted to change the header, I could simply come in here, click on the header. That's the image. And if I wanted to remove it or replace it, I could upload a different header to it. The widget positions. So for example, we've got a side menu and we've got the club leaders. Maybe we want to put wedding anniversaries over here. Or we want to put our district leaders down below here, okay? So if I move these around, I can position how I want the site to look. And I can basically now open this up in the site. And I can now see that I've added wedding anniversaries, club leaders, and there should be district leaders down below here. So the tools that you've got here give you the ability to basically create your website, find how you want it to look, position the various things around on the screen, and visually see exactly how your website is going to look without really knowing a thing about HTML. So the whole design of this website is that somebody with very little HTML knowledge can come in here and configure what their website looks like. And you can change, all the features. So if you want to change, for example, the menu bars, if you look at the website, like there's a couple menu bars across the top here, you can change those and change all the submenus by coming over here to the menu top bar and configuring all the menus that you want here. And if you want to add a new tab, you can add a new tab and put it in there, and it appears on the website. So I'm sure there's a ton of questions about this. Sorry, I'm trying to rush through this a little bit. Are there any specific questions that I can answer, or did I lose everybody?
This is Rosaria Upchurch. I wanted to ask, at what point during the creation of the website does the information become visible to consumers of the website?
Okay, so when you go into my club and you go to website and you create a website, right? When you click on create, for example, you have to fill out a very small screen here, what it's going to cost, the subscription, and add it, and so forth. Once you create it, you get a temporary link over here. So it's a website at dacdb.com/some link, your club name _ a number. You can go to that website, and technically it's public information if somebody knows what that address is. So you can view it, your club members can view it, the information is out there, it's pulling data from inside of DacDB, your club leaders, your meeting locations, your weekly bulletins, all of those things are being pulled. At some point when you're done configuring your website, you're going to come to us and say, okay, this is my club URL. I want to use this URL. So the Rotary Club of Gainesville has got a URL that they're using, right? It's their domain. We'll assign a domain to your website, and that domain is now active and the world can see it. So technically, to answer your question, yes, the world can see it under this address, which is sort of a temporary domain, until you apply the real domain name to your website. And then it's out there under the website.
May I follow up with an additional question?
Yes.
I understand that part. What I should have also asked was, when you're changing things or you're adding things to the website, at what point is it private before you make, how do you keep your work product private until you're ready to publish the new stuff you put on your website?
So that's really more to the content that's here. Is that what you're really talking about?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so when you're back at, let's go back into my story, easy stories. Here's my COVID-19 published, right? So if I went in here and said, I'm going to just push this back into draft. It's not ready for prime time. I'm still playing with it, editing it, and so forth. Now, if I go back to my website and refresh it, it's gone. Okay, only the published stories that are here that you've said, I want this to go on my website, so this W here, the W there, and this W here, that's the only ones that are going to get published. You can edit your story, you can review it within your group, your club, you can get it approved, and only when you publish it will it be there. And furthermore, you can go in and say, okay, I want this story to be published, but I don't want it to appear until, say, next month, May 1st. Okay? So now we're sitting here, we got a COVID-19 story, but it's not visible yet, and it won't be visible until May 1st. If I go back to my website and refresh it, it's still not visible. So I basically have hidden this story or queued it, let's call it this way. I've queued up this story and it won't appear until the 1st. So that's another way that you can do it and look at it. Now, internally, you can preview your stories, and actually the preview doesn't show you it until it's ready. So there's a way to preview your stories that are there.
You can also put an end date. I do that with fundraisers. If I know it ends on a specific date, I do the post until.
Yep. So you can put an end date in there and say, like, for example, this is going to go to 5/30/2020, and click save. So automatically now that story will go on the air and go on your website on 5/1. And in this case, it's going to go on my homepage and my dashboard, and I can use it in my bulletin. So it'll automatically disappear at 5:30. So there's a lot of power. And by the way, when it comes down to like the order of the stories, you simply can drag these stories around. So if I wanted to do something and say, here's the order that I want them to appear, I can simply drop and drag the stories in the order that I want. And that's what it's going to appear on at the website. So it's very, very simple to try to do that stuff. And then I try to give you some sort of indication here about it.
There's a question from Mike saying, are the stories archived someplace after the end date?
They're archived if you want to archive them. So there's a little icon here that says archive it. So for example, I could take one of my draft test stories here and simply say, okay, I'm going to archive this story and basically remove it off the screen here. Now, if you want to see the archived stories, you can come over to a link here and say, there's all my archived stories. There's the ones that are there. And there's a little icon here that says restore that story. So I can restore that story and put it back. So maybe you've got a Christmas story or a Thanksgiving Day story or something like that that you do on an annual basis. You can archive those over here and put them on or put them off. So it's kind of up to you on how you want to deal with that.
Cool. Mark, can you go back to the menu bar?
Up here?
Yeah. No, with the website. I'm sorry, in the website.
Okay. So we're gonna edit the website that we were in.
Right. And where I'm struggling is, like, if you go down, type the drop down, like under, say, documents or contact, when I add something in there and save it, then when I go on the website live, I don't see it. Yeah, like right here, exactly where I want it to be. So like say I wanted to add another row in and I add it, right? But then it does, and I hit update, but then when I go on the website, I don't see it.
So it should be a new row, should drop down.
Yep.
You should be able to click update, right?
Yep.
Okay, so now if I go back to my website, I don't see it.
Exactly. That is my biggest struggle I've had working on the website for the Port Orange South Daytona Club.
Yeah, it seems to be there.
Does it cap out at X amount?
Yeah, you should be able to have any number of links across here. So, yeah, there's something that I believe that, I'm probably not the biggest expert on this whole thing.
I think it's
Mark?
not linked.
Yeah, Mark, it should work. And I'm not sure why it's not, but I'll make sure that John knows.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
Hi.
Yeah, that should be there. So it really should be that simple to add like a new row.
Exactly what I thought, because like I've used WordPress and I've been on this this is really where my roadblock is, like I said before. And I was like so frustrated, and I looked at the videos, and it's like, this is pretty straightforward. Like you
Right.
said, you don't need to know the HTML coding. It's like, what am I doing wrong? And then I thought, is it the security level that I'm at? But I'm a webmaster, so I should be okay with that.
Yeah, no, it should be that simple to do it. I'll report that as a bug, and we'll see if we can get that fixed today or tomorrow.
Oh, great. Thank you. This is perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. So basically, that's to kind of tie the pieces together. If you're in my club, you've got your stories, which can appear on your homepage, your dashboard. Your stories then can be combined into your easy bulletin, so you can create your bulletins, and your stories can then also appear on your club website. So that's how it all fits together. So let me move on and show you a new feature. You folks all talked about in the first session, especially documents and so forth. So if you don't see it here under Club New Files, New, go up to your icon here and make sure that you've got the icon. It may be sitting down there. Drag it up here and make sure you've got the new club files and say set my configuration. And if you haven't seen it, you can move things around on the screen, so you can reposition how you want your screen to look or where you want your files to be. But for example, let's see, this is, you go in here and click on the file manager, you'll notice that the look of this is now changed. And in the file manager, there's two sections. There's public files and there's secure files. I really want to make a big pitch here to say anything that you put into your public files, which can also be pulled out to your website. So remember the website, let me go back to my website, but if I go back to the website thing. Where's websites?
Second row.
There we go. Okay, remember we went into this website, and you had your bulletins that are out here on your website. This is available to everybody in the world, including the Russians, the Koreans, all the hackers, everybody that's out there. So when you go into your files and you put information in your public files, it's potentially available to everybody. So my message here is please do not put personally identified information in there. So if you've got a document that's got email addresses or phone numbers or address data, something that you don't want the world to see, don't put it in your public files. Go over here to secure files and put the data over here. Now the new feature with this new file manager is the ability to do multiple uploads. So if I want to upload a file, my board meeting minutes, my club documents, I can come up here to click on upload file. I have two ways to do an upload. I can choose files with my file manager and pick them up off there. Or I can simply take a file that happens to be on my desktop. So I have like a test document and simply drop it in there and it's there. So the document got moved in there. If I want to take like multiple, like I'll take some pictures here, John and Fred and smiley face, and I want to drop multiple documents over there. Multiple documents went in there, they got uploaded, and they're all there. You have the ability to select files and zip them and download them. You can delete multiple files. You can copy files. So for example, if I wanted to create a folder and call this my 2019 club files, okay, I just created a folder there. I can now come along and say, okay, I want to take these files and move them to my 2019 club folder. So now if I go in there, there's the 3 files that I moved. And I can either click here or back here. I've got some navigation tools on how to go into the different directories. And I can create subdirectories of subdirectories and so forth. You have now a very efficient way of organizing your club documents. And again, if you're doing really your board meeting minutes and financial data and so forth, please do it under the secure tab. So that ability is all there. I can individually, for example, let's say I loaded something up. There's some icons here to copy it. I can make a quick copy of it to another file. I've got 2 copies of it. I can delete a file individually, and I can also rename it. Or if I want to give this a better name, I can rename the file. So you've got the ability to name it. So I think just about, you can also like search for files. So if I want to type T up here for test, it finds the test file. Or if I type Z up here for Z, it finds the Z file and so forth. So I have all the abilities I think that you're going to need to manage all the club files that you have for your club in a public way or a secure way using this new tool.
Hey, Mark, can we upload files or do we have to upload each document individually?
Now you could upload, so here's like this PowerPoint presentation for this meeting.
Yeah.
And here's a test Word document. So you can simply click the Shift key and both keys, well, let's see, Control key, I guess. So highlight both of them. And actually, let me get that up there. So there's both of my files, right? And it could be 20 files or it could be 5 files. And I simply come over here and drop it there. And it's there.
But can you do a folder, like a whole folder of stuff up?
Well, what I would do is I would go in and go into the folder that you want to drop it into, right?
Right.
And then open up your file folder that you've got. So let me.
Okay, so you can't do folders. You have to do each document.
Well, you would select like multiple documents in your folder or whatever.
Right. Okay.
You could come in here and say, I want like these, these files here. Click on multiple files and then drag them over.
Okay. You couldn't drag a folder over though.
No, I didn't think about that. I figured you'd be doing it more at an individual file level. But if you went into a folder, you could basically create the equivalent folder over here.
Yeah.
Highlight all the files and simply drag it over.
I was just thinking to upload the history of one of my clubs, just to upload their whole history. I could just move their folders for each year.
I'll look at the folder. It's a good idea. To be able to kind of sit here and take a folder and say, all right, I just want to drag that over and put it there.
Yeah.
Let me see whether that's a capability that we can do.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So this is this new file manager is on a system for both the clubs to use. And again, if you don't see it, go up to the cogwheel icon and make sure you've got club files new. And at the district level, there's an equivalent one for the district files because they go into a different setting. And so you should be able to find the club files icon there and set it on there. Probably like this one right there. See, this is the old look. So that's the look that I'm trying to like move away from and get to the new version of the district files. Any questions on that one? Okay. So what I'd like to show you now, in a few minutes that we've got left, is some changes that are coming up. This is future stuff that's not there today. The one change I want to show you to Pmail. So Jimmy showed you Pmail. Pmail is going to change so that the names that are in here are more like, I think Facebook does this and Gmail does this, but everybody that goes in here is going to get like a little bubble. And the advantages of this is I can individually just come along and delete people off of here, right? The other thing you're going to be able to do with Pmail shortly is just type in an address. So if you wanted to send Mark at DacDB.com an email, you simply type in the address that's there. So no longer does it have to be just a member, but you can actually put a real, live email in there. Same with the CCC and the BCC. I do the same thing. The other thing you can do too is I can look up my members. So as I'm starting to type along, I can select members, cherry pick them from a list that appears here and add them to them. And then what Jimmy showed you too was the two. So the two is basically going to look the same, but there's a couple new features. So if you're at the right level, you'll be able to send out to like, here's all the males in the district, or here's all the females, or here's all the undeclared ones. You can also send out by member type. So if you wanted to only send it to potential members or proposed members or active members, you'd be able to get those lists. And another feature that was requested was, I want to go back to click on this, is the spouses. So you'd be able to click on the spouses, or all of them, and update them and put them on the list. And what you're going to see, you'll see like a little heart here. That's a spouse record. And it tells you basically who their spouse is. If we know the name, we'll put it there. And the other thing too is we will highlight here deleted members. So if you get any deleted members on the to list or the CCC list, you'll see a little yellow person here that indicates that the person's deleted. The rest of Pmail basically stays the same, other than we're going to this sort of approach here that gives me a lot more flexibility of sending out mail. Likewise, ptext that Jimmy showed you will do the same kind of thing, where you're not going to have that long list of members that was at the bottom. You'll have the member list that's up here, and the ability to hit the two and the cherry pick the members, add people from the list there to your thing. So those are the two changes coming up with ptext and Pmail. The other change I think will be, those are going to take probably another 2 or 3 weeks to get out. One change that I'm really trying to get out this week, by the end of next week, say, is club meetings. So if you create a club meeting, like I'm in Lynn's South Brunswick Island Club, and I've created a club meeting, there's a couple new fields that are going to be here for the club meetings. One, it's the normal field that you've got to create your club meeting. The schedule for your meeting, in this case, is a bunch of recurring meetings that are out there. But a new field is going to be a notification tab. And this is something that's been on the calendar of events for registrations, but not for normal club meetings. And it was someone in this district down in Daytona that suggested that we really need to have notifications or the ability to send out reminders to people about club meetings. So notifications are really reminders. And with a club meeting, you really got two kinds of reminders that you can send out. A reminder before the club meeting starts, and maybe a thank you or something after a club meeting ends. So for example, if I wanted to send out a club meeting start, I might set up a reminder, a notification that says, "Dear Rotarian, this is a courtesy reminder that this meeting is coming up. There's your meeting name and the date. Please click here to RSVP. Thank you, the Zoom team," or whatever you wanted to say. Now let me go back there. I could set this up and say, I want to send this to club members, and I can define which club member types. So only my active 85, active leave of absence, honorary members can be set up to get this message. And I can also set up the period that this message gets sent out to. So this message is going to get sent out 3 days before the meeting and 1 day before the meeting, reminding them of the meeting. Maybe that's too much, and all you want to do is 1 day before the meeting, so you can save it and set it up 1 day before the meeting. Likewise, after the meeting happens, you might send a message out to the members that says, "Dear Rotarian, thanks for attending this week's club meeting. Please take a minute to complete the survey below. There's a link here for a survey." The member gets that email, clicks on it, completes the survey, and they're done. Now, remember there was an RSVP here. If members RSVP, you'll be able to kind of collect, who's going to attend the meeting and who's not going to attend the meeting. A lot of clubs use the registration ability to simply count the people that are going to be attending, or in some cases, count the children that are going to be attending. That's an option that you've got here on RSVPs. So for example, if I wanted to send out the RSVP and a notification, this is what the RSVP would look like. "Dear Lynn, will you be attending?" And you have the option to say yes, no, or maybe, and put a comment in. If you want to include adults, say in the thing, I save it. And now when I send out my RSVP, there'll be a pull down here that says how many adults will be attending the meeting and whether I'll be attending or not. So this RSVP basically is going to replace the regrets that we were using for the registrations. And the RSVPs will also be pulled into the registration back room. But the listing, all the people that RSVP'd for your meeting will be right here under your club meeting. So this is, I think, a new, very powerful feature that'll be coming out where you can set up your club meetings, set up automatic notifications that go out before the meeting and after the meeting. You can even be able to target it for members that attended the meeting and members that missed the meeting with a different message. You would set up several notifications, maybe one for those that attended and one for those that missed the meeting. So that's the new feature. That's it. I'm out of time.
I think we have just a couple questions I saw in the chat. Does the feature allow the meeting date on the calendar of the meeting being invited?
So there's well, you set up a calendar of event for every one of your meetings or a recurring set of meetings, right? So every meeting has got a date or a future date if you're doing a recurring meeting capability. You would set up a notification that ran before, that meeting date or after that meeting date. Does that answer the question?
Hopefully. Is there any other questions? I can give you like another minute, then we're going to do a random number generator and let Mark enjoy his weekend.
There's like 9 questions in the chat.
I don't see the chat here, so
Mark, you did a great job. These are wonderful features. I think I can speak for a majority of people that have been talking about it on the chat thing. These are lots of great new changes. Thank you.
we're trying.
Mark, one of the questions was if you forgot to add the template at the beginning, can you add it later?
These notification templates?
That's probably.
Yes. So yeah, if when you go into the meeting, it's going to pull in, I think, 2 by default. And it's, but also, by the way, if you want these to work, like you can, we talked about like on the website, being able to set it up. If you don't enable them, they don't work. Right? So you can kind of get your meetings set up, even if it's a day or 2 before. Pull in the notifications, create the ones that you want, click on enable, and then you're set up to go.
There was a question, does drag and drop work in the grant module like the file manager does? And I haven't seen it work like that there, but maybe that's a change coming.
It's a change coming. So the first thing was to get the district files and the club files going. The module to do the drop and drag was written in a modular way, so I can use it in all areas within DacDB where the file manager is. So yes, absolutely. Probably not in the next couple months, but shortly down the road, I will put that in there.
I think we've caught most. Has anyone else seen Patty? Maybe did you see another question that hasn't been answered?
I think Lynn's been working hard to try to answer everybody.
I know she has.
Thank you, Lynn.
And the comments are, the chat is, most all of it's just comments about how great everybody thinks all this is. These are wonderful changes, Mark, really. You and Lynn and everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I like to do another one in the fall, like
I know
October, November.
I know.
Like
Yeah.
6 months. This was just extremely helpful. It really filled in a lot of loopholes where I was really lost, and I feel like so much more confident. But yeah, if we could do another one in the fall, that would be great, because then we'll see changes that came through. We'll all have a chance to work on this more and what other ideas we may have for you, or what we've been using. We can share with everybody else what's worked for our club, what has not worked for our club.
Absolutely, would love to hear it. In fact, I'll share one thing with you on the calendar or the P-Well. This is something I would love some feedback from a group. This happened last night. Where is P-Mail? So if I go into P-Mail, we go into tracking. Here's all the messages that got sent out. One of the questions, this is some feedback I'd love if somebody wanted to send supported DacDB a message, real quick message. This is personalized to the person that sent it out. The question that was posed to us the other day was, hey, I'm the club president and I'd like to see what messages the treasurer sent out. Did the treasurer send out their dues and so forth, or the invoices? You don't have that ability. It would be pretty simple to add that into the tracking. I have mixed feelings about it. So this is a great audience to say, what are your thoughts about being able to look at the tracking of another member or officer in your club? So if you got some thoughts, pros or cons, I'd love to see an email about that. So that's an example of like the enhancements or the requests that we get almost on a daily basis of, could you do this or could you add that? And we love them, but sometimes we have some internal debates and discussions about whether this is something we really want to do or not. I'm over my time. Sorry, bye.
That's okay. I can tell you from personal experience that support from DacDB is fabulous. They get back to you fast. If you have questions or having trouble, go ahead and email that support and they're going to get it to the right person and they're going to do the best to answer your question. And they do a really great job. So thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Mark.
Welcome.
Mark, I'm going to take over the share.
Do I have to do anything or just?
I'm going to knock you out, I think.
Thank you again, Mark. That was awesome.
Once again, we have another random number that we're going to generate for a winning $25 gift certificate. So then we had 61 participants at one point. So our lucky number this time is lucky number 15. And as soon as I download all these things and all of the attendance lists and all the chats, we'll make all of this available to everyone. These sessions were recorded. They're going to be put on the webpage so you can listen to them again in case you missed something and you want to go back to it. Thank you, everyone, for attending the training assembly. We didn't know how this was going to work. It worked really well. We do miss seeing everyone in person, but you know, we learned a lot this weekend, and I think this worked well. Coop, you want to say any last minute thoughts?
Well, I just think it's wonderful that we have managed as a group to adapt to the times, and we still had great presentations. Thank you to everybody. It was excellent. Thank you for all of you, as always, that you do during these times. You take time out of your work week and your weekend and join us, and we really appreciate it. And it's going to make us all have a better Rotary year. Thank you again.
Great job, Marie and Rich. Wow, it was really a great success.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very good
Thanks,
job.
Marie and everybody. It was really terrific.
Hey,
Thank
Marie,
you for your service.
Marie, as much as I miss being in person and seeing people, I really liked it better on Zoom with this type of presentation because you're hands-on, you're right there, and I loved reading all the chat.
Yeah.
There are
We were able to get like Mark from all the way from Colorado to come in, and it's almost like being with him, to have that kind of personal attention from him and Lynn, his, you know, and any of his staff. He was available.
Yes, definitely.
Great job, all of you, everybody. Great use.
Thank you.
Is somebody going to take a copy of the, I'm on an iPhone, so I can't, but you can take a copy before you get off of the chat in case you want to keep any of the comments.
Yes, we're keeping all of the chats.
Okay, good. I can't do it on my iPhone because I'm on the computer in the other two meetings. So I attended all three meetings. So.
Good for you.
In all three chats from 9 o'clock until today. I wasn't able to come yesterday, but anyway, it was great. Thank you very much, everyone. Good job.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
Over and out.
All right. Take it easy, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye now.
Okay, who's buying lunch?
I guess it's me.
All right, thanks, Marie. Had a great time.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody. That was a great session.
Marie, I hope we can really reschedule something in the fall, maybe for an administrative follow-up with DacDB. There was a lot of requests for that, and that would really be a great idea.
I think that's a good idea. It probably needs to be more than an hour.
Oh, yeah. It really does.
Lynn's laughing.
She is. Come on, Lynn.
So, all right, everyone.
All right. Good. Thank you. Thanks again, Marie.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, Lynn.
I am gonna stop the share. Bye, guys. I'm gonna end the meeting.